Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is Listening Beyond the Soundbites. Joining me in studio today is Ken Goslant, who is running for the House of Representatives to represent my town, Berlin, and Northfield. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's the first time you've been here. Shame on me.
Probably shame on me. I don't do a lot of these. I'll do if I win this term here, I'll do a lot more. So.
You should. People like to get to know you, and you've got an excellent background.
Well, thank you.
Because I have your partner in crime on all the time, Ann Donahue.
Yeah.
But anyway, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and our viewers would like to know.
Well, I was brought up in the big city of Peacham. I was born in St. Johnsbury. I lived there until 7th grade. Goslant in Peacham was quite a name, of course. Again, 350 people. So, but there was a Goslants from Peacham and the Goslants from Plainfield. So then at one time, the Goslant family owned a lot of what is now Groton State Forest. In fact, there was a Goslant pond. I don't know if they still have that named or not in the forest.
Nice.
But we still have, or my uncle has a lot of land that actually butts up to Groton State Forest still.
Great.
So it's near and dear to us.
Sturdy stock.
Yeah.
Good for you. And you're very active, I know, in Northfield.
Yeah.
Which is great. How do you reach out to us folks in Berlin? How do you do that? Because we're everywhere. Berlin is pretty big. I don't think people realize that it meanders all over the place. Route 2 and,
Boy, did I find that out the first time I ran.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're going here, you're going here, you're going here. It's like a bunch of fingers. It's like you're all over the place, and it's like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's also, I'm going to tell you, Berlin is absolutely beautiful. I mean, if I didn't live in Northfield, I would want to live in Berlin. In fact, I already have one of the roads that I just adored. It's close to town. Berlin has a lot going on. Yep. It's two very different communities. Northfield is a college town. Berlin, you have the hospital, you have more of the shopping, you have more of the industrial and stuff like that. I think I don't want to leave anybody out, but Pat Malone owns a lot of property on 302 and all over, and
we got Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yep.
And the airport. There's a lot. We have a brochure. I'm active in town, and we have a brochure that we put out. All roads lead to Berlin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's true, because from Berlin, on top of the plateau where the fire department is, we call that the plateau, you can take any road and wind up in Montpelier, Barry City, Northfield, wherever you want to go.
Yep.
So I like it there.
Yep.
And we actually have land, which is a commodity, wealthy commodity these days. People like it when you've got land available.
A big commodity if you can get a permit and you can build something.
Exactly.
And you try to get a permit in this state, and it's very difficult, and what it costs, and the governor's talked about all that, and it's just mind-boggling. That I'll wait till you ask me questions.
About Act 250, we could do that for an hour and a half. So you joined the legislature in 2019, sort of following Patty Lewis, who was our representative, and you and Ann Donahue are our reps, and I think you do a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I believe it or not, Ann was obviously from Northfield. My big thing is the moment Patty and I met, we connected. And I had no desire ever to be at this level. Politics is not really my thing. It was like, I come from a coaching background, and I own a small business, and all that stuff. And then, I got on the select board for 10 years, And then
And you don't think you're in politics, being on a select board?
I didn't allow politics to come into it. I honestly, Pat, I honestly had no idea what politics was until I walked into that building, and I had a guy that took me under his wing, Bob Bancroft.
Oh, for sure.
From Westford, and as far as I'm concerned, he's a legend. And I forget exactly how he put it, but he and I clicked immediately, and we sat side by side, and he'd go, and he's like a dad to me. He's like a
nice.
You know, we instant just trust,
Yep.
just trust, and he just said, just shut your mouth, let me do the talking, let me get in trouble, and you learn. Basically, you're my student.
Right, there you go.
Perfect words, because he said, I don't care. I'm going to say exactly what it is, what's going on. I'm going to hold people accountable. If you do that, you need to go and sit here, learn the process, learn what goes on, and be a student of what happens here.
Right.
And I took his advice.
Good
and
advice.
For the first year and probably half a month, you know, into my second term, maybe a month, I started going more. But you know, going into that building, first of all, it really bothers me because I respect it. I respect the institution, if that's the proper word.
Right.
Even though I may not agree with a lot of the people that are in there, or some of the people that are in there, I still respect a difference of opinion, what they're trying to bring across, also what I'm trying to bring across. Obviously, we know as time has gone on, it's turned into a supermajority, so you get labeled bad because I'm more on the Republican side. I take pride in I'm a big supporter of the governor, big supporter. I have the utmost respect for him, and but I'm still going to do what I think I need to do. That's my job.
Right, good for you. I had, when you say it's so different, and I worked for state government for 20 years before I became a legislator, and I was up there all the time. But there are so many nuances that as somebody testifying or just watching, you don't see it. There's so many of these little things and you can't mess up. So being quiet in the beginning is a very good piece of advice for sure. Because over the years, I became friends with this cabal of Democratic women. I think I was their token conservative. But anyway, my first vote on the floor was completely different than what they voted on. And I'm leaving the floor, and I am just sweating bullets going, oh my God, they're never going to talk to me again.
Yep.
I'm done. And they turned around, they said, you want to go to dinner? Never talked about it, and we were right back. We never lost a beat. We were just friends.
Yep.
And what happened on the floor stays on the floor.
Yep.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's so cool.
Well, it's basically what happens now.
Yeah.
You can go, and I can talk to anybody out in the hallways, and we can agree, and there's sometimes we're going to disagree.
Right.
We're all trying to get to the same
Yep.
area for the most part. It's how we get there is where we're going to have a difference,
Right.
Possibly of an opinion. But on the other side of the coin, it's like we really agree a lot before we walk into the room to vote. Yep. And again, it's like, listen, the people of Vermont have spoken, and they put the supermajority in there. That's the way it is. It's their rules. You play by their rules.
Right.
And you know when the vote comes out, you know how it's going to be. And it showed, when they overrode the governor's vetoes and all that stuff. So, you have to respect the process. One thing I don't like is coming more from the our side, like I've already brought up, is you're labeled. And I'm an independent thinker, and I'm going to vote and do what I think is right. Now, I'm not saying I haven't voted a so-called politically correct maybe 8 times in my 6 years that I've been there so far, but I take a lot of pride in that because I had some very, very good words of advice on how to handle things in that building. I asked somebody one time. I said, "How do you make the decisions you make, and how do you live with that?" And the person said, "It's not very complicated, Kenny." This person's known me for a long time, and he said, "I vote with my heart, I vote with my head, common sense. I go with my gut feeling, and gut is big.
Right.
And probably the most important thing, I vote and do what I think is right."
Good for him.
Probably, it's always stuck with me since day one. Yeah. So, people tend to make the process so complicated and so complex, and I try to keep it simple because I'm just a common sense, small business person that was given a gift of being able to relate to kids coaching and all that stuff, all the way up through college girls hockey when we started women's hockey back at North University and stuff like that. So I'm very blessed in so many ways.
Good for you. That's great. Well, you certainly have your handle, because I remember when I ran into you the first year or two, you'd come up to me and go, "Wow, what is this place?"
Yeah.
Because it's confusing, and you can't teach that stuff. You got to learn it yourself the hard way sometimes. But
well, what's really interesting is Jay Pedley. Remember Jay Pedley from Northfield when he was a rep.
Oh,
he was a state rep. He and Dominic Falzarano back then were the 2 state reps.
Wow.
And we called him Pops Pedley, and his son Andy owns the pizzeria, Northfield Pizzeria in Northfield.
Right. That I know.
And I was sitting down there one morning, and we were having our normal coffee and talking and stuff like this. And Pops, out of the blue, we had a hunch that Patty may not be running again. And he said, "You ought to run for that." And I looked at Pops and I said, "Are you nuts?" I said, "There's no way I could do that. I wouldn't know how to do it. It's nothing I want. I'm happy being on the select board." And he said, he told me the things that I never thought I'd hear from that guy. And I really liked him. I didn't know he liked me as much as I found out. He said, "Kenny, you be very good at it." And I looked at him like, "Wow, did you honestly just say that to me?" And that spring-loaded it. And then the next thing you know, I had other people that started coming to me, and then I had like a group basically recruiting me.
Good.
And I really didn't even know it. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have any of that stuff. And they started working together to do all this. And then sure enough, and I thought I was maybe 2 years away from making my mind up if I wanted to do it. And if I had the 2 years, I don't know if I would have. I honestly don't, but I didn't. I had no idea what I was walking into. But let's just call it the recruitment process, is they made it sound kind of so easy, and it's not.
No.
I mean, it's like going back 1 through 12th grade in school. Only when you're younger, you don't pay that much attention, or I certainly didn't in school. Here is like going to college for the first time without ever going to school.
Yeah.
So, you learn the legislators, you learn the process of what goes on with the administration.
Right.
I've been friends, like I said, with the governor for years, but also learning his people that
Right.
work with him and for him and all that stuff, and again learning the legislators. But then the big thing that I was always leery of, and I was always watching, and I was always like monitoring the situation, was all the special interest groups coming in and giving their take. And then of course we're loaded with lobbyists, and the lobbyists are paid
Right.
to sell the product that
Right.
they want to sell. So I'm in House Judiciary. I'm the clerk of.
I saw that. I was going to ask you about that. Speaking of a lot of work, good for you.
Yeah, well, the House Judiciary part, or the clerk isn't that much. You're taking votes and you're keeping track of things and stuff like that. But you're on your toes with it.
Right.
And again, it's part of the institution that makes things work. But going back to the lobbyists,
Right.
it's like you learn the other aspects of the building, and then it's like you walk out of the room and you're hit with a lobbyist that's coming
Right.
to you, that might have been in listening and wants to give you his take or their take or however you want to phrase that, and it's like, okay, I've heard this. Now I'm going searching to find the other,
Right.
what
Yeah.
somebody's thinking, and then I'll make the best decision I possibly can.
Good for you.
And that's how I do it.
And I think as a coach, I bet one of the skills that you have, which is critical, is listening. And I bet you do that well.
Well, thank you.
If you deal with kids and a coach, you've got to listen. Otherwise, you're in deep yogurt.
I grew up as a kind of a short, overweight
Really?
kid with no
Yes.
confidence.
Ah,
Yeah, I used to
that's
be.
a surprise.
I think I used to be 5'6" and weigh 183 pounds,
Ooh,
and no confidence. And I didn't get confidence until probably my last 6 months of high school. And a lot of it's maturity and all that stuff. But I learned early on in coaching that kids don't have a lot of confidence. And I could relate to that. Very, very easy. And it's like, it's all the things in life that I had learned. Because there's always good things in life, right? There's always things that you can take, the good things and the bad things, and you go and you put them all together, and you go and you think them out, and usually you can get by and make a life-changing decision, right? And with the kids, the biggest thing with the kids is you teach them confidence. But before you can teach them confidence, they have to trust you.
that is the truth.
Okay? So before I did anything, it's like I wanted the kids to know that they could trust me, that whatever they told me would stay between us unless it had to involve parents, which was very, very seldom.
Right.
That wasn't the situation, but a lot of it was that gift that probably I was given with my upbringing, that I just could pass on and do stuff with.
So you were talking about trust and how important that is with the children. And I would say, kind of looking over at what you do at the legislature, you've got your words, they've got to trust you too, because your word is your bond in that place. And you've really got to trust, regardless of party, you've got to trust the person. And don't you find that that's something very important, and it makes your job a little easier and more fun, if I may.
You got to have some fun in the building.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to unwind because there's a lot of tension.
Yep.
This last year was by far the most tension that I've ever felt, and
Really?
it got worse as time was winding down and stuff like that, it was, you know, I guess I'm a lot more experienced now than what I used to be, and know what goes on. But you can get a real good feel for what's going on, and no, there's the trust, and you know, you confide in me and I confide in you, and it's not going any further.
Right.
And again, you're trying to work to find, or I certainly am, that works. You know, Northfield and Berlin, they elect me, right? But I'm one of 180, because remember, there's 150 of us in the
Right.
as reps, and then there's 30 in the
Senate.
with the Senate. But I represent all of Vermont. So when I'm voting, my voting record is for all of Vermont of what I think is what the majority of people want. Now, it'll most of the time it shows it doesn't, but if you go, you can't look here. You cannot look here. I don't care whether you're a coach, a select board member, a person, a normal businessman, whatever. You have to look out here. You have to look out wide range.
Right.
You have to get out of your comfort zone. And a comfort zone, with, again, going back into coaching, is huge. You've got to get the kids out of the comfort zone.
Right.
You have to get out of the comfort zone in the State House, or you won't appeal and you won't build up what is needed to do your job there.
When you've been going around trying to get reelected, and I'm sure you will, do you have any competition, or is it they're running somebody against? Well, it wouldn't be against you necessarily. It's just running. You and Ann?
They've run well. Ann's running as
Independent.
as an independent this year.
Yeah, right.
And that's her choice, and she can do what
Right.
she wants. And then they brought a couple Democrats as write-ins, and they'll be on the ticket in
A lot of write-ins
in
this year.
December. They did the same thing 2 years ago with me. They brought a woman out as a write-in to basically go against me. You know, Ann has been there for so long that
Right.
I don't think anybody is going to take the votes from Ann, and it is what it is.
Right.
Ann does her thing. I do my thing, which makes both communities and the state better.
Right.
Her forte is you know, the
Mental health and
all
health,
that,
yeah.
and mine is municipalities.
Oh,
it's
great. Oh.
public safety. It's a business sense. It's a common sense.
Right.
It's the contractors. It's what infrastructure. God knows we've been devastated by
For sure.
2 massive floods in the last 2 years.
Right.
And then, you know, I hate to use that C word, but that COVID, I was basically getting my feet wet,
Yeah.
and we got clobbered with COVID.
Oh, and you were home. Oh, that must have been hard.
So you have that. You adapt to it. You pay attention to
Right.
it.
Because you know a lot of business is done in the cafeteria, in the hallways. I might almost say most of it, unless it's in your committee. But COVID didn't allow for that.
No.
Wow.
No. So you're on the phone a lot, going and having conversations with different entities and stuff like this. But you got House Judiciary, you've got the Senate Judiciary. You know, we lost an icon with Dick Sears,
Yes.
and I was just really getting to know Dick.
He's marvelous.
He was really.
You don't ever want to get on his bad side, may I just say. However, if he likes you, you're golden. He'll go to the mat for you.
And that's exactly what I was told about the guy, because it was like, he's intimidating.
Yeah.
But you have to show him respect.
Yep.
And there's one time we were walking in a hallway, and I was, we were actually in the Cedar Creek room, I believe, and I said something to him. I said I just did something that hopefully that helps move a bill forward, because his area where he came from, the massive amount of crime that's down there, the drugs that's being run up through
right
there,
at the border.
the trafficking, the sex trafficking, and all that stuff. It's bad.
Yep.
And I got to know Dick a little bit, and unfortunately he passed, and then his running mate, Brian Campion.
Yeah, and those two are like father and son. Those
Big time.
two,
Big
they
time.
just adored each other. It was great to see.
Yeah, and Brian and I really connected this year. Brian, because I'm on the judicial nominating board too, which is we interview potential judges, and then a panel of us, I think it's 12 of us now, will interview people that are interested in this, and we'll send names to the governor that we think are highly qualified. And Brian got put on that committee, but Brian and I had started a friendship before that, and sharing different things.
He was one of the, in my estimation, one of the best chairs, period.
Yep.
He is an excellent chair.
Yep.
Excellent.
Sadly missed, and
I bet.
and I got word that he may not be coming back too, and in the 6 years that I've been there, it's amazing the turnover that we've had.
They all left at the same time, and then of course someone like Dick Massa passed away.
Yeah.
Kurt McCormick, I don't know. I mean,
He just passed. Yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid to pick up the paper.
It's
terrible.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
It's really good, and the history, and there are some new people there that don't have. Let me see how I phrase this. Oh, what the heck? They don't have much respect for tradition, and they want it gone because they think it's silly. And I am a traditions person. It's been running that way for a lot of years. Let's just keep it going and have the respect for what you found when you came there, and keep it that way. They're trying to change everything. It's like, stop it.
I've been called. Oh, you're the old man's club and all that stuff. I won't put the other word in there and all that, but it's like you're this. You're basically part of the problem. You've been here.
Oh,
and,
right.
And it's it's we need more women. We need this and we need that. And I think if you look at the makeup of the building, and you look at the governor's staff and who he has, and you look at the judges that we've appointed and all this stuff, and not because they're women, but because they're qualified.
Thank you.
Okay, and so it's not a popularity contest at all with that, and people want to go. There's a lot of entitlement out there in the world, and I didn't come from entitlement, and hopefully I don't come across like that. I would be very disappointed in myself if I did, but it's like. I don't mean to pick on people coming in there, but they have a sense of how things. They have a little bit of a sense of entitlement. I'll say they have. It should be this way. It should be this way. It should be this way. And maybe they come from an area differently from where I came from, because they're much more polished in politics than what I was. Because I struggle. I'm in a political building. I am a politician to a certain point.
Right.
I'm going to do what I think is right. And if it's popular or if it's not popular.
There you go.
And I last year I had a bill. It was through Senator Sears, and I put in there that I wanted tougher crime on people that do things with guns, and it's the drugs and all this stuff. And some of the gun people, they thought we were going back and confiscating good people's guns and all that stuff. And it's like, that's not what this is about. It's like, I want to hold accountability, and I want to, and it's also, it's not going and just putting somebody in prison. Like, you want to give somebody a second chance. People screw up. Listen, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, and somebody that shows that they want to be a better person and they want to add to society, let's give them a chance. The ones that we go and, you hear about the court backlogs all the time, right? Well, I don't like the term catch and release, but my word, you've got some people out there, I mean, you read about them, 50, 60.
No, exactly, out there. They're out there doing the same thing.
Because there's no accountability. I mean, we passed, what was it? I think we increased up to $900 or something with retail theft or something like this.
Oh, really?
I mean, come on.
It's just like California, for Christ's sake.
Well, you go to, we love to model ourselves out of California, and then we switched to Oregon with decriminalization of drugs, and I'm looking at, I'm sitting in my chair, and I'm saying, where in the heck did that come from? And then, of course, I started doing my homework, and then Oregon has more people, but it's a small state. So we're going to decrim drugs, and we're going to go down that avenue, and now Vermont's going to follow Oregon. And I'm saying, I don't think that's going to work. I'm proud of Vermont. I am proud of what we have here. Vermont is not Oregon. Oregon is not Vermont. And I'm saying, this is not going to work. We are going to build a bigger crisis than what we have. And not to pick on Burlington, but let's be real. You can see exactly what goes on Church Street. It's in the papers all the time. The local crime that we have, the local stuff that we have going on, whether it's in Berlin, I think Chief, I never can pronounce his name right, Potterbrand does a fantastic job. Berlin, the areas that they have to cover and everything. You look at what's going on in Barrie. I mean, it's all around us. We got to do a better job.
Yeah, for sure. And the police they get a little depressed. I mean, you work to catch the guy, and then he's, you see him on the street the next day. It's like, what the heck is going on?
Would you want to be a cop?
Oh, not anymore. I always wanted to be a detective in New York City. That was my goal in life. But I wouldn't want to be now.
Can you imagine being a cop? You go every morning or every night, whenever, you put that uniform on. You put that uniform on to not only protect yourself, but to protect others. You are a public servant, a public safety, right? That is your job. And you're going out there, you don't know whether you're going to see your family again, you don't know anything. And it's like we've made it so they're more of a victim or more of the problem. That's wrong.
Exactly.
When you have a problem, who do you call? You call the cops.
Exactly. Well, that's how sometimes it's on the national level, but they're doing this thing, ripping the cops apart. But then something happens in their life. Who do they call? The cops. It's incredible. I would not. I admire them. I would not want to be one anymore.
Nope.
Do you know I'm involved with Campaign for Vermont, and we sent out a survey last year, and about priorities for Vermonters. And for the very first time, this was not our first survey, for the very first time, crime was in the top 5. Blew our minds away. This is Vermont, the safest state. Not anymore. No. I don't understand what's happening.
So my number one
responsibility.
Thing. My number one thing is affordability. We're totally way out of control on affordability. We have made this state so unaffordable unless you come here as basically the rich, or you come here as so poor that we're going to enable more of a situation to take away from the middle class, upper, whatever. I don't like that at all. It's backwards to me. So what is the answer? I mean, we've written things to the legislature on that S5, which is the heating, which is going to cost us megabucks. They apparently, I don't know if this is true, but the Sergeant at Arms office told me they got more vote no messages from people than they did on abortion. They asked the legislature, do not vote this bill in.
Ta-da.
Well, it got overridden in the veto, then.
Yep, right. And then if
By
it
a
wasn't
wide
for
margin.
if it wasn't for Senator Sears, we wouldn't. He's the one who made it come back this year for a final look-see about how much it's going to cost. So we have one more chance to fail it. But that was Dick Sears who did that.
We don't have the manpower. We're not set up for it. I don't know how much. Listen, we all care about the environment. The environment is obviously it's our kids' future.
Right.
I mean, I have kids. I have grandkids. I have stepkids. I care deeply for this state. But when you go and you look about what we're actually producing here, and people can disagree with me, and that's fine. But the point of the matter is, we're a destination state for people to come
Right.
and spend money.
Right.
Okay? And so if they want to drive their electric cars, they want to do this
Good
and
luck
do
with
that, that's fine and dandy. I have a problem when we're mandated and we're going to sue ourselves for,
Right.
we're going to sue big oil.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? So people, like obviously I was in on that, that's judiciary, right?
Right.
And I'm sitting and I'm listening to this and it's being introduced to us and I was being looked at by the guy that was reading all the stuff off to us, and he knew I was coming, and the first words out of my mouth, I said, so we're suing big oil. Okay. So big oil, are we just suing for, fuel, gasoline, and all this stuff? Because big oil, it's like I probably had a Diet Coke in front of me or something
Right.
like that. It's made out of plastic.
For sure.
What's plastic made out of? Petroleum.
Right.
Well, it's right there, right? You're to blacktop a road, petroleum.
There you go.
There's so much used in petroleum.
Yep.
So we're going to set all this stuff up with, we just sue to sue.
Yep.
And that's another thing with being in judiciary.
You get all the really tough ones, don't you? I'm trying to think about all the bills that we were following that would go into judiciary.
Yeah.
You had quite the year.
Yeah, but it's you're only going to get certain ones taken off the wall.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, my bills usually don't get taken off the wall. Now, there's bits and pieces of some of my bills that will get taken off the wall, and will
Incorporated.
they'll try to
Right.
appease me with some of that, but it's generated the way they want to run it, and I guess years ago when I guess the Republicans supposedly had the same thing, and they did it too. So
if we had the supermajority, for sure. Of course, it's like you can't help yourselves.
Yeah.
Patty Comline and I were head of the GOP when I was in the House, and we went up and argued something with the speaker, and we said, you can't do this? Oh no, I said, why are you doing this? And they looked at us and said, because we can. Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Too bad. What am I going to do?
But that's not good for Vermont.
No,
is
of
it?
course not. It's terrible.
It's very, very disheartening.
Yeah.
I have some people that, I get along very well with the speaker. Jill and I do not.
She's good.
We don't agree with a lot of the politics, but I can still like her as a friend.
For sure.
And I do. And there's a lot of people there that we don't agree, and that's okay. We're still friends.
Right.
And we still, the big thing is, and it's what's needed, is the respect in the building. And and respect for what we're trying to do.
Right.
And you can't lose sight of that.
Yeah. No, and you have to work at it all the time, You really do. I found it fabulous there, but it's changed quite a bit since I was in there. I mean, we talk about your bill, my bill, and the best bill is the third bill after we've compromised.
Yep.
Doesn't happen as often as it used to, or at all.
No.
It's their bill, and like it or leave it.
Yeah. You can take I'll take a bill and totally. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, it's like, oh my, this is just, no. And so you'll pick away at it. You'll just keep studying it and asking questions.
Right.
Like, I'm not afraid to ask questions. How else are you going to learn?
For sure.
How else are you going to learn?
Right.
And I'm not afraid to go somewhere and look to get that question answered. But still, when it comes right down to it, I'm going to make the final decision of what I think needs to be done. And I'm pretty proud of myself about that.
Good for you. That's great. That's great. Who is the chair of your committee? And I obviously knew who used to be in the Senate, but who's your chair?
Martin Lalonde from South Burlington.
Ah, okay.
So he was new. He took over 2 years ago.
Right. Now, what other things do you deal with in your committee? I'm trying to think of all the. You must deal with probation, with release. You know, you said catch and release. Do you talk about all of that? I mean, that's a big issue with people.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with a magnitude of things. I mean, DCF. I mean, there's so many of them, and I probably should have written it down. But you know, you got corrections. Even though there's a corrections department. But you're still dealing with all that stuff because it's all intertwined.
Right.
And you know, I don't know if I ever finish this or not, but dealing with lawyers, which lawyers has never been one of my favorite professions. Either you're getting sued or somebody's protecting you from getting sued.
Right.
So I'm in there, and it's like I can't win, right? I can't win.
Right.
I need to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And Judge Grierson, I love the man. He was so great to me. I was going and I was questioning him one time, and I was probably a little too aggressive, and he looked at me, but he had the utmost patience. And he was looking at me, and I could just see his wheels were turning, trying to make sure I didn't maybe make more of a I'll use the word fool of myself, because I was trying to get to the root of what was really going on, and I couldn't do it, and I was getting frustrated.
Right.
So anyway, we were done testifying and stuff, and he looked at me, he gave me an eye, and he said,
Go out in the hall.
You want to step out in the hallway?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And some of the greatest advice I ever got. And he says, Ken, you do understand that I'm the judge, right? And of course I'm petrified.
Yeah, right.
Because I love the guy, right? And I, again, utmost respect for the man. And I said, yeah, I get that. I said, you make all the laws, you do this, you do that, you're supposed to do this. He says, no, that's not how it works. This is the first time, you're not going to believe this, but this is the first time he said, you are the lawmaker.
Right.
Pat, I looked at him like, what?
Oh.
He said, you make the laws. I enforce them. I interpretate them the way I think they should be done. You're the lawmaker.
There you go.
I went and I looked at him, and it's like he hit me with a sledgehammer right between the eyes, and I said, again, it's just a learning process to the whole.
Big responsibility, eh?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge, right?
Right.
And from that day there, it's like, wow. Because, you know, trust me, when I first got elected and I got put in judiciary, you know, they bring you around the room there and they ask you, you know, who are you, blah, 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 and all this stuff. you have 5 picks. I don't know if you
Oh, yeah,
had 5
yeah,
picks
right.
or when you were there or not, but I said, I'm Ken Goslant. I'm from Northfield, Berlin.
Right.
I said, I have no idea why I'm in this room.
It wasn't one of your
I
picks?
said, judiciary wasn't my first pick.
Ah.
It wasn't my 3rd pick. It wouldn't have been my 5th pick.
You're kidding.
No, this is what
I
I'm
wonder
doing.
why.
This is
Did
what
they
I'm
tell
doing.
you?
Well, I didn't know anything about it.
That's funny.
I come from a construction
Right,
background. I
right.
come from farming. I come from logging. I
Right.
come from blue collar.
Right.
I'm in the granite industry. And I went one step further. I said, if I had 50 choices, it wouldn't have been in my 50th
That is hysterical.
choices.
That's hysterical.
This is how I introduced myself, right? But it also, the big thing with me is I have this uncanny way, and there's a little bit of sarcasm with some stuff to break down barriers to let everybody know that I'm just Kenny.
Right.
I'm just Kenny. But the point is I went and I said this wouldn't even be in my 50s. I said I'm way out of my element. We had a young guy
Yeah.
sitting right beside me, right? Don't act like Kenny. The worst that you could do is act like Kenny, right? He goes, he says, he speaks up and he says, well, I'm with Kenny. And he says, I don't know what I'm doing in here either. He said, this wasn't my picks either. And I was going, oh my God, I'm having an influence on somebody already,
Right,
and that's not what I meant to do. But it turned into a moment where it was brought down,
Right.
and people could understand that this is serious stuff. Now, and I will tell you, I always wanted to be on transportation. And I put in that one time I definitely wanted to be on transportation. But this last time, I put my first pick was to
Judiciary.
go back in judiciary.
Good for you.
This time here, if I am fortunate enough to be reelected, I want to go back in judiciary.
Yep.
My job is not done. We need to protect people that come to this state, that live in this state, our young
sure.
people. We need to protect everybody.
Maybe they just needed some good common sense in that committee, because years ago, a lot of attorneys, they look at things a certain way, and maybe common sense people can say, well, why don't we do this?
Well,
And it's
common
like,
sense
duh.
isn't common,
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
It's definitely
Yeah.
not common in
Yeah.
that building,
Yep.
right? They all have a job to do. So you have to appreciate that. It's just the way it is, right? They all have a job to do, and you have to respect that, right? But again, if you break it down to, it's my name on there, it's my vote showing how I'm doing things, and people have to understand that. Unfortunately, the thing that kills me is you're labeled, because it's one way or no way, and it's
Right.
oh, he's a hard R,
Right.
and I'm not. I'm not a hard R. I'm going to do what I think is right.
Right, good for you.
And I take pride in that. So
That's great. Oh, you're making me miss it, for heaven's sake. It's just so different than when I was there. And I think losing all of those people, I mean, we could go through the whole list of people that have the historical knowledge and have some idea of what happened before. And that's important to bring that forward and to learn from it. It's really important. Did you get involved with climate change and all? I mean, you talked to all the people around Northfield and Berlin, and I wanted to talk about you just did a Facebook page which talked about why you were running, and you've really brought up some key points, because it's not just crime, which is big for a lot of people. What other things have they talked to you about that you're wanting to deal with?
well, the affordability. I think we've touched on that,
right.
and we've made it. When you're on a fixed income, you're going further and further in the hole.
Yep.
When you go and you travel around, and you don't have to travel very far, this. Look at the properties. Look at how the properties, they cannot take care of their own homes.
Yep.
I think it's called blighted properties and all
right.
this stuff, And obviously you have the floods that have been hit, and we could do a lot better job with that. Again, that goes back to infrastructure.
Yep.
Our infrastructure has failed in this state for years, and now it's coming to roost. It's front and center of us, and we need to deal with it. And we have not helped the housing crisis one bit.
No.
And when somebody says affordable housing, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that is affordable about housing.
Sure.
My son and daughter-in-law just bought the former Rustic in Northfield, and the mansion beside it, and the Gould mansion, and it was
nice.
The Gould family. That Northfield Falls was actually used to be called Gouldsville, and it's a big mansion, and there's 16 apartments in there, and he has the traveling nurses. We try to help out with that. We have the local Northfield people that's there, so there's a good mixture of people that's there, and we're trying to get the Rustic reopened. It won't be the Rustic. My son will probably be mad at me. We're going to shorten it. It was always called the Stick anyway. It was called the Stick, or it's called Aces. And Ace was the one that started the restaurant part, I believe. But it's going to be shortened to the Stick. And I'm very proud of my son. My son is vice president of New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Whoa,
and,
that's a biggie.
Yep, and he used to be with Stewart Haas Racing. He was a general manager of the Xfinity Series, and
oh my God,
the kid that just won the championship was his driver that he had brought up through.
Wow,
and
awesome.
now he'll be back into the Cup Series next year. But going back to Northfield, the one thing that I have a son and a daughter, blood son and daughter, and the one thing that I always instilled in my kids: never forget where you came from, and always give back. And my son decided he was going to buy the Rustic and the mansion and do something with it. And it's a money pit. It's still not open.
It's been around a whole lot of years.
We hope to finally get it reopened in January.
Nice.
But the rules, regulations.
Yep, the old Act 250.
It's crazy.
I don't understand it. The House Natural Resources Committee was charged a couple of years ago to spend whatever time they needed to fix Act 250. They can't do it. They were working on that for 2-3 years. Nothing ever. I think something happened this year. There was some sort of an Act 250, but it didn't do anything monumental that's going to change the world.
We haven't done anything with the school situation. Then how long has that been going on?
Well, that's the truth.
Right?
And I'm very sorry that the chair left education, because he had it in his head how it should be. Took a while to get it moving, but it's a mess.
We were headed down the right road with that. I know Heidi Schurman.
Right. Heidi.
So she was.
Yep.
She had a lot of stuff, and a lot of ideas, and a lot of, I think, things that could have worked.
Yep.
And I think they fell on deaf ears, and
she was a worker, that's for sure, Heidi.
She did her homework.
Damn, she was good.
Yeah, and so again, we need to. I hate using the COVID thing, but the COVID thing, we're still suffering from that.
Oh, I agree with you.
We lost sitting around the table, having a huge discussion, or a grown-up discussion, whatever you want to say. Sitting it around the table as grown-ups and hashing out the best deal possible for Vermont, for as many Vermonters as you possibly can, because I don't care what happens. There's going to be somebody that falls through the cracks, right? And those people that fall through the cracks, we've had in place for years, as far as I know, that we're supposed to be able to help those people. And somehow or another, we went way off the tracks of helping those.
Right.
And then you've got the stubborn old-time Vermonters, I'm going to say, that they're so stubborn that they won't ask for help. and you have to look and you have to search, and they'll be damned if they take anything, but all you can do is
Right.
try your damnedest to help them.
Yep.
And that's part of the Vermont traditions that I'm proud of. We have a lot of Vermont traditions that are very near and dear to me that we're losing. We can't lose sight of what Vermont was built on.
Right, right.
We really
we
can't.
are losing it, you're right. And the young people coming up have when you say the way it used to be, they have no idea what we're talking about.
No, they don't.
They've lost it. That's sad.
It definitely is, and probably social media and all that stuff. But Pat, when I was younger, it was probably the same way. My grandparents.
Oh well,
it's probably it's like this and that.
It's all
and
changed.
Stuff, so.
It's all changed. Yeah. So we have only 2 minutes. See how quickly that went. You're out, presume, saying hi and please vote for me. And why should we do that, Mr. Goslant?
Well, I think I just put out a Facebook post a couple days ago, and I'm getting a lot of likes, and I'm getting some comments and stuff like that. I think people know I'm a straight shooter. They know whether they want to hear what I'm going to say or not. They're going to hear the truth. Right. I'm not going to go and just do what a lot of people do and tell them what they want to hear.
Right.
Because it's not true. When we went through the floods, when we had the trailer parks get wiped out.
Oh, right.
I knew we were in trouble.
Right.
When we were dealing with FEMA, this is not going to work. I'm standing in the back of the room, and I'm monitoring the room, and I'm saying, this is not going to work. You don't understand. It's like buying house insurance.
Right.
If you don't have total replacement value for your house, you're only going to get what they think it's worth.
Right.
It's no different than the trailers. So, the governor stepped up, and there was extra money that he found and doled out to people, but they've lost everything.
Yeah.
And they lost a place to stay and everything. So getting back to your question, it's like, I think people trust me. I think they know I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to do the best I can, no matter who they are, to represent them. Whatever they stand for, whatever. I'm going to take a little bit of what they have. I'm going to take a little bit of what this one has and this one has, and I'm going to try to do the right thing and make the right choice.
I'm so glad you came on the show today. I have enjoyed this conversation immensely, and I hope you have too. Thank you, sir, for being on the show. See, it wasn't so bad.
No.
We got a great audience and very relaxing. Thank you very much. This is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the soundbites.